Okay, we're doing a bottle run today. Several people have asked how the bottle return system works in Canada. Here in my province of Ontario, all the bottles, you get paid in cash. You don't have to go into the grocery store, spend money, get a receipt. You return them at the counter, the guy hands you cash. So all the bottles have to be sorted. I sort the exact same way the beer store sorts. Almost nobody sorts the way I do. I sort to an extreme because of the amount I bring in. You can see all my wine bottles piled up there waiting to go in. The minimum you should do while going to the beer store is sort by color. Clears and light blues in one bin, that should be in a different bin, and darks in another. And the categories are sorted between wine, which wine is like wine, liquor, and weird beer bottles, which all get dumped into giant bins in the back and get recycled, versus beer bottles have to go into beer bottle boxes at the beer store, and they get shipped to a separate recycling facility, or they get reused. Like the Anheuser-Busch, Molson Coors, and Labatt's products all get shipped back. All of the Anheuser-Busch beer bottles, Molson Coors beer bottles, and Labatt's beer bottles. Those are the three main beer brands that use brown twist-off bottles in Ontario and Canada, and all these bottles get shipped back to the brewery and get reused multiple times. Versus all these beer bottles get dumped into giant bins in the back with the wine bottles because they're considered weird. That's what I call them. Weird is not a category. But like the Red Stripe, the Baileys, all these small, these are all 10-cent. All the craft beer bottles, all these go with the wine bottles, versus all these beer bottles have to go into a 2-4 box there. So at the beer store, they have 2-4 boxes, which holds 24 beer, and they have black bins that hold a random amount of wine and just the recycled glass. Now these bottles do get recycled too because they're imported, but they have to go separately because they get sorted differently. Obviously, they have to go with the beer bottle. Like they get recycled the same way this gets recycled, but these get dumped into a giant bin. These have to be shipped out in 2-4 boxes. And when I say a 2-4 box is a 24. This is a 2-4 box. Here in Canada, that's what we call it. It's a 2-4. It holds 24 bottles. I always forget that word's Canadian. Some other brands, like I believe, it's made by Labatt's. Bud Light Lime bottles, made by Anheuser-Busch, they get refilled. Miller Genuine Draft bottles, they get refilled. Brava's made by Labatt's too, it gets refilled. Sleeman gets refilled. All the Coronas, Land Sharks, Miller High Life, this one, all those all get recycled. Beck's gets recycled. Hogarden gets recycled. Kronenberg gets recycled, but they have to go into the beer. They have to go into the 2-4 boxes once you get to the beer store. I'm gonna show you guys the beer store in a minute. You're not allowed to film inside, but I'll show you how we sort out the glass and how it works. Anything 601 milliliters and up is 20 cents. Anything 600 and under is 10 cents. All cans are 10 cents. And you just count your cans into clear trash bags or a box. If this one's in an unclear bag, so I have to rip it open and dump it out in front of them. And all the bottles are sorted by hand. So they have bins there you put the wine bottles and glass into. And the people behind the counter, there's only one counter for return, they count all the bottles by hand, punch the number into a computer, and give you your cash. The only bottles that have a deposit are ones bought in Ontario, but none of the guys check. Like, they're not ripping open bags to look for American cans. They're not reading every wine bottle label to see if it was brought back from the States. So you can get away with a lot of American, non-returnable, homemade wine bottles. A lot of these beer bottles, craft bottles, their labels fall off or whatever. I've never had an issue returning bottles without a label, only a couple times. Same with cans. Like, you can get craft beer cans with like a plastic label. People rip them off. I throw the silver can right in my can bag. They've never said anything to me. Technically, if the bottles are broken, they don't have a deposit on them, but I just put them in with my wine bottles and they take them. Like, this one's broken, so technically there's no deposit. I put it in there. They take it, no issue. We also have a deposit on like wine cartons and wine bags and all that stuff. That stuff has to go separate too. You have to separate your plastics. Plastics is one category, wine bags is another, and then cartons. Anyway, hopefully you guys find this useful. I'll show you when we get to the beer store. Hopefully this is not too confusing. And that's just how it works where I live. Now, obviously, most people don't sort the way I do. Most people just put all their glass into one bin. And the beer store people will take it and they'll sort it, right? They're not going to refuse you for not having your stuff sorted. However, if you bring in cans and bottles mixed in a bag, you got to sort it out there. If you were to bring in a bag of cans and didn't have a number, the person behind the counter generally will take a guess for you, and you can either count it out or just accept their number. So I might bring in a bag like that. They might say, yeah, I think that's about 120. If I don't think it's 120, I can count it, or I can just settle for the 120. It's a nice thing when people give me bags of beer cans, I don't know the number, I just bring them right in and I get it. I don't even have to count them. They also take all the stuff in the original packaging. Beer cans in the 8-packs, wine bottles in the wine cardboard. It's really simple because you don't have to sort them out of the box. You send them down the counter to the guy, he counts them out, you don't got to worry about it. Anyway, I'll see you when we get done loading this up, and I'll see you at the beer store. Okay, everybody, so these are the bins at the beer store. They have these black bins for all the wine and 10-cent glass that goes with the wine. When I say wine, it's all like wine and liquor. And then this is how you sort your beer balls. So obviously you don't have to sort your beer balls the way I do if you're in Ontario. I just sort very, very well. I sort the same way they do in the back. Like, you can mix all these together and they would still take them. I just sort really well. So Bud Light Lime is a refillable beer ball. It gets sent back to the brewery. Now it's interesting. So Bud Light Lime is made by Anheuser-Busch. Brava is made by Labatt's. But these are the same bottles. So they go together. These are all the imported bottles that get shipped to be recycled. These are the 2-4 boxes I was talking about. All these get sent to the different breweries that use these bottles. It's a very interesting way of sorting, and all these are counted by hand. So when I go inside, they count all the bottles by hand, and then they put it into the computer. It's a very unique way of doing things here, and yeah, like Sleeman bottles get refilled, Miller Genuine Draft gets refilled. Miller High Life's an import though from the States. Yeah, cans are counted into clear bags. It's a very interesting way of doing things. I figured I'd show you guys all this. I'm not going to give you the totals. I might give you a total at the end of what all the empties were from this week, but I have another 1,000 cans at home that aren't going in today. Anyway, hope you guys found this video educational and interesting. Yeah, and here the beer store, the return thing is very small, where this beer store only has one counter for return, one person counting all the bottles and putting them through. And it does go pretty quick, because at the beer stores, you also can buy all your beer here. You can get a receipt and go to the back and pick out your beer, your 2-4s, whatever you want to get. And then we have a separate store for liquor. And the liquor store, it sells liquor, beer, coolers, and it sells basically everything containing alcohol. And it's owned by the government. This beer store was the beer stores in Ontario were founded by, I believe, Labatt's, Molson Coors, and I believe maybe Sleeman too. I can't remember what breweries founded the beer store, but if you Google it, the different breweries founded the beer store because they wanted their bottles back. Right, so all these bottles clearly get dispersed to the different breweries, whether it's Molson Coors, Anheuser-Busch, Labatt's Brewery. There's a couple other small ones that also use these bottles. I don't know all the logistics on how the shipping and stuff works. I just know how to sort the bottles the same way they do, and obviously I sort very well. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.